address the blue-hatted elephant in the room. What was the elephant in the room? But now, well, I was going to do this in French, but let's just do it in English. I am truly sorry for wearing a Dodgers hat. No excuses, but there were two reasons for wearing it. First, our host that night, and those who haven't watched CTV News, this is important. First, our host that night was the owner of the Dodgers, and I believed it was a polite thing to do. And as Canadians, you would support that. Second, hang on. Second, the 900,000 watt floodlights shining down on an ever-increasing bald spot. And given that level of scrutiny, I think I'd even worn a Yankees hat. Okay, maybe not a Yankees hat, but you get the dilemma, right? As for my wife, well, she lived in Toronto for years and has deep affection for this city. So much so that many people around the world still believe that she is, in fact, Canadian. So I think hopefully you can forgive her, as a native Californian, for her Dodgers loyalty, even if just for one evening. But truthfully, and jokes aside, this city will always mean a great deal to me. You provided me a wife.
Welcome back, Royal Sussex Squad family. I hope everyone is doing beautifully today. We are back again with another powerful, truth-centred conversation about our Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Two individuals who continue to walk with dignity, integrity and purpose, no matter how loudly the haters shout, no matter how aggressively the fake narratives spin, and no matter how hard the British tabloid machine tries to bend reality to keep its toxic empire breathing. Today, we are diving deep into Prince Harry's powerful and emotionally grounded remarks from Toronto, Canada, where he openly and beautifully said that Canada gave him his wife. He reminded the world that this nation has a special place in his heart, not only because of the Invictus Games, but because it was the very home where love blossomed between him and Meghan. This is not simply a statement of romance. It's a testament to the real history, the real foundation of Harry and Meghan's relationship, rooted in mutual respect, independence, and the freedom to simply be themselves, away from palace constraints and tabloid predators. So let's settle in, get comfortable, and take this journey together. Prince Harry spoke at the 17th annual True Patriot Love Foundation National Tribute Dinner in Toronto, an event centred around Remembrance Day, honouring sacrifice, service, and the profound strength found in recovery. And this theme couldn't be more appropriate because Harry, himself a veteran, has spent years uplifting service members across the globe through the Invictus Games. While some other royals do photo ops, Harry rolls up his sleeves and puts in real work. From the moment Harry took the stage, his energy radiated warmth, peace, and a deep sense of belonging. He stood in Canada, a place that protected and nurtured his love story, and spoke openly from the heart. He told the audience, "Truthfully and jokes aside, this city will always mean a great deal to me. You provided a wife for me, and you hosted the Invictus Games in 2017, touchstones in my life, both professionally and personally." These words matter, because while critics waste their time spreading lies about Harry and Meghan, Harry stands in truth, acknowledging the place where he and Meghan were allowed to simply exist as human beings in love, without scrutiny, without cruelty, without intrusion. Toronto was more than a city. It was sanctuary. Before the tabloids twisted their existence into profitable lies. Before the palace slammed the door on compassion and support, Meghan lived her life in Toronto with grace. She worked hard on the hit legal drama Suits. She built friendships. She quietly did humanitarian work long before becoming a duchess. She was her own woman, and that is what threatened the establishment, a woman who didn't need the title to make an impact. Harry visited Meghan there often. They spent time with real friends, building a relationship based on authenticity and compatibility. They shared a quiet Halloween with Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank, going unrecognized. Imagine that, a prince and future duchess being allowed to walk down the street like normal people. That was the gift Canada gave them. Freedom. Harry went even further during his speech, acknowledging that Meghan loves Toronto deeply. She lived there for years, formed connections, and contributed to the cultural and artistic community while delivering her own career excellence. Harry's comment that people outside Canada often assume she's Canadian reflects just how seamlessly she blended into the community, a testament to her spirit and adaptability. And let's talk about the playful humour Harry brought to the stage. He joked about Hatgate, when he and Meghan wore LA Dodgers hats instead of Toronto Blue Jays hats. Of course, critics, in their usual desperation, tried to weaponize a harmless moment. Imagine being so obsessed with tearing people down that you manufacture outrage about baseball caps. These people need to touch grass. Harry diffused the nonsense with charm and light-heartedness, saying that their host that night owned the Dodgers, and that his increasing bald spot was a reason to shield his head under bright lights. If that isn't harmless fun, what is? But still, detractors twisted the moment. Because when you're committed to negativity, even jokes become ammunition. Meanwhile, Harry just laughs, keeps moving, and continues spreading positivity. That is the difference between a man rooted in purpose and critics rooted in bitterness. Harry paid deep respect to the True Patriot Love Foundation for its crucial work, supporting service members and their families, physically, mentally, and emotionally. This is the Harry we know, a man who served his country, who has lived through the traumas of war, who lost his mother at 12, and who still chose compassion over cynicism. There are royals whose lives revolve around photo ops and press manipulation. Then there is Harry, the man who saw trauma and turned it into transformation, not just for himself, but for others. That is leadership. Harry highlighted Canada as the only nation to have hosted the Invictus Games twice, first in Toronto in 2017 and more recently in Vancouver, Whistler. Canada didn't just host. They embraced the movement, uplifted wounded warriors from around the world, and celebrated resilience on a global stage. Harry's words echoed gratitude and admiration, not just toward the Foundation, but toward the First Nations, whose contributions were central to the recent hybrid Winter Games. He acknowledged the importance of truth, reconciliation, and shared healing. This acknowledgement, coming from someone born into a monarchy with a colonial legacy, is powerful. Harry continues to do what so few royals dare, recognizing history, acknowledging harm, and working toward better. That is the real Harry. Not the fake villain tabloids invent, not the caricature promoted by bitter commentators who can't stand seeing a man prioritize love, mental health, and equality. The real Harry stands shoulder to shoulder with wounded warriors. He centers Indigenous voices. He honors nations that welcomed him with open arms. He gives credit where it's due. He walks his talk. And Meghan, the woman who has taken more abuse than any public figure should, remains the magnet of calm, compassion and poise. The way some people obsess over her, monitoring her clothing, her voice, her existence, speaks volumes, not about her, but about their emptiness. Meghan doesn't need to clap back. She lets her work speak. She lets her heart speak. She keeps building. That is power. And that is why Harry's statement, "Canada gave me my wife," resonates so deeply. Because this love wasn't forced by palace matchmaking. It wasn't the result of pressure or arrangement. It wasn't for optics. It was simply two people meeting in a world where they were free to be themselves. There is poetry in the fact that this love started outside the royal bubble. That is why it continues to survive. It wasn't built on protocol. It wasn't built on aristocratic expectations. It was built on shared values, mutual respect, and a genuine desire for a full, meaningful life. Let's talk about the early days, when Harry flew into Toronto quietly. When Meghan continued filming Suits, working long days, pursuing creativity and excellence. When they blended lives in a city where they could grab dinner without headlines exploding worldwide. That time allowed their love to grow on real soil. That's something certain institutions never understood. They couldn't fathom that Harry wanted happiness, not ceremony. They couldn't fathom that Meghan was enough, more than enough, and didn't need to be chained into a silent supporting role. So they attacked. First quietly, then publicly, then viciously. They underestimated both of them. Harry walked away from the palace, not from duty, but from toxicity. He chose to protect his family. That is real duty. And critics have never forgiven him for putting his wife and children first, because it exposes the truth that their outdated system prioritizes hierarchy over humanity. Harry and Meghan said no. They chose life, peace, and wellness. And that decision inspires millions, which takes us back to Toronto. That city stands as a monument of the life they were building before the chaos. The life they are now building again in California, with intention and purpose. The fact that Harry acknowledged Toronto so lovingly shows that despite everything, they remember the people and places that held them with tenderness. It's remarkable how supporters across Canada and around the world continue to uplift Harry and Meghan, even as the British tabloid press tries desperately to bait, twist and smear. That is why the Sussexes remain thriving, because the world is bigger than the British tabloids and their echo chambers. Harry's presence in Toronto was also a reminder that when he speaks about veterans, it comes from lived truth. Unlike many royals who speak about the military from a comfortable distance, Harry served. He lost friends. He has held the hands of wounded service members. He knows battle, not from a balcony, but from the ground. This is why the Invictus Games are so meaningful. They are not a publicity stunt. They are a healing movement, a global force, reminding veterans that their lives have purpose and value beyond conflict. And notice how critics never attack Invictus directly, because they can't. They know how sacred it is. So instead, they try to attack Harry personally. But the Invictus community stands tall behind him. Nations around the world support him. Veterans love him. That matters far more than royal gossip. Harry's speech also highlighted belonging, a word Meghan has used often as well. The Sussexes understand the feeling of being pushed out of institutions. They understand being targeted. And that is why they uplift community. They uplift connection. They uplift healing. They don't preach from a pedestal. They walk beside people. Harry spoke about shared values of hope, respect and belonging. Those words echo deeply because they reflect everything he and Meghan represent. While others focus on tabloids and petty feuds, Harry continues uplifting lives. It was especially moving to hear him recognise First Nations as central to the game's success and to the healing journey. That acknowledgement demonstrates emotional maturity, something the monarchy often lacks. Harry shows the world what true leadership looks like: listening, understanding, honouring. Many critics have attacked Harry for speaking truths about the institution and the press. But those same critics ignore his continued global impact, especially through Invictus. They want to erase the good he does so they can cling to their simplistic villain narrative. But real people see the truth. Veterans see the truth. Survivors see the truth. Supporters see the truth. Harry and Meghan are thriving because they prioritise service, values and compassion, not performance. Canada will always be a special place for them. It was their haven, the place that allowed Harry and Meghan to just be Harry and Meghan, two human beings in love. To the critics who continue to waste time spewing nonsense, the world has moved on. Harry and Meghan are global. Their work touches continents. Their lives extend far beyond a palace that couldn't protect them, and a press that tried to destroy them. Toronto holds memories of a love that nobody could break. Even now, years later, Harry, standing on that stage, reminded us that joy can be found anywhere kindness takes root. It is also worth noting how gracious Harry was, even while acknowledging criticism. He handled the so-called hat controversy with humour. He didn't lash out, he didn't complain, he simply laughed. That is confidence, that is peace. Contrast that with critics who foam at the mouth over baseball hats. The obsession is embarrassing. The desperation is obvious. When you're rooting your identity in negativity, even a cap becomes an emotional crisis. Harry didn't take the bait. He remained composed, elegant and honest. All the things his haters fail to be. That is the mark of someone who knows who he is. Harry knows his purpose. And Meghan continues to stand beside him, flourishing, glowing, building, loving. This is why the Sussexes are unstoppable. They know their worth. They are anchored in truth, not titles. Their power comes from authenticity, not palace approval. And despite the negativity that constantly surrounds conversations about them in certain corners, they continue to be received with warmth, respect, and admiration everywhere they go, whether in Canada, the US, Africa, or beyond. Toronto stands as proof that love doesn't need royal sign-off. It grows where hearts feel safe. So here we are, Royal Sussex Squad family, witnessing once again how Harry and Meghan continue to rise. Even as the world tries to box them in, their horizon just keeps expanding. Let's end with this. Canada didn't give Harry his wife. Meghan is her own woman. But Canada gave them space, safe space, to love without limits, to breathe, to build, to dream. And that is something no smear campaign can undo. Before we wrap up, I want to speak to you, our loyal Royal Sussex Squad community. Thank you for supporting truth. Thank you for supporting independent narratives that uplift instead of destroy. We are here because of you, because you help carry stories that need to be heard. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to use Super Thanks. Every bit of your support helps strengthen this platform and allows us to keep producing rich, thoughtful content centred on truth, dignity and justice for Harry, Meghan and the broader global community they represent. Until next time, keep shining, keep questioning and keep standing for compassion. Thank you, Royal Sussex Squad. I'll see you in the next video.